Continuing where we left off, we created this pattern swatch. Actually, just created a design with transparency and radial gradients, and we started with a sequence of squares, and then we offset the path, and then we rounded the path and did a bunch of different things to it. You can look at the last video for that. Now I want to take this image that I've got here and I want to turn it into a fill, make it capable of using it as a fill swatch. Okay, so pretty easy to do. I'm just going to take my swatch panel, pop it out. I'll bring it over here close by so you can see a little better. And I'm going to just drop this whole object. I'll just select it all and I'll drag it so that it goes right into my swatch panel. You can see I must have practiced on this before. It's already there. But there it is, stuck into the panel. And that means that I can take other shapes now and fill them with that same pattern. Okay, to show you what I mean, I'll move this back into place over here and close it up. I'll make my artboard just a little bit bigger so I have some extra space to show you this. All right, there the artboard's bigger now, and I'll just take any of my basic shapes tools, the rectangle tool. Take that, and I'll switch, and I'll select from my swatches. Remember, this is the same drop down over here, and now you can see it's filling with those shapes. Now you can do anything that I've showed you so far with this. You could change it from a rectangle to another kind of shape using the direct selection tool, and that swatch stays in there. You can add pen anchor points and move them around, and you can see that it just continues to show up there. Now you can rotate this object, and you'll see that the pattern wants to just remain where it is. Okay, it's an awful big pattern. It almost fills my page. And so there may be times when you would like for this to not be such a big pattern. Okay, you can, before we get to that though, you can add new shapes, and you can see the pattern just continues to build on however you add the new shape. Okay, ellipses, stars, the whole thing, they all work in the same similar manner. Okay, with the pattern just kind of filling across the board there like that. Right. I'm just going to undo a few steps here, get us back to a place that's a little more manageable. There's a smaller area there now. And use Command 0 to zoom in and out. Command 1, Command 0. We've been practicing that all during the semester. If you want this, maybe there's a situation where you'd rather that the swatch doesn't just remain in these vertical lines. Like I said, when I rotate the area, see how they stay stationary? I'm going to undo there. There is something you can do about that. Double click on the selection tool and you'll get a box here that says move. It actually is kind of recording your movement with the shape that you've been working on. Now I don't really want it to move, so I'm going to type in zeros here. And you can see it took those commands. It's right down here that I'm wanting to focus on. Right here where it says transform patterns. You can click right here and then OK that. And now you'll notice that when I rotate the object, the swatch pattern, the pattern swatch, goes with the shape. See how they're moving? Before, those patterns were just staying in one spot, staying stationary. Okay, let me zoom out. The other thing that function provides, that double click on the selection tool, if you select that second option, it'll also allow you to make the swatches a little smaller. And here's how I do it. Just bring this down and make it much smaller. Now you can see that the same number of swatches is still filling this new very small size. But the thing that's kind of nice about this is that subsequent shapes, if I draw another rectangle, they're going to be small in this one too. And if I delete that, if I do a ellipse, they're also small. And when they rotate with the object. Now, you can go back to your selection tool and you can double click and turn that back off. And now it's back to filling the shape, and even though they've stayed small, they're locked down now. They're not changing position as I rotate the object. Okay, so that's something that you'll be able to utilize in certain circumstances, depending on what it is that you're trying to accomplish. If you want them to go in straight lines, if you want them to change, it's just a matter of double-clicking on the selection tool. And again, I usually zero these out just so it doesn't jump. It's designed so it'll move the same distance that you just moved. And then click here. The preview doesn't really do much unless you've got some movement involved. Okay, and as I turn that back on, now you'll see that they do move with the shape. They stay with the shape, and they'll shrink with the shape. So now I've got really tiny dots there. You'll notice too that if you, right on those last few moves I was using the shift key so they would stay round, you can make them so they are not round, so that they are stretched, depending on how you stretch the box. And then, let's say you distort it this way. One thing I've never tried is the free transform tool. I wonder what happens if you use it. Yeah, they stay pretty much stationary. Okay, but the scale of the selection tool will stretch them, and new shapes that you draw will have the new stretchy pattern. All right. Okay, so that's that. As far as the other things that we talked about, you can name your swatches. If I double click on the swatch in the swatch panel, up comes this whole interface. And it's actually, what it's trying to do is show you how they will grid together. And you can rename them and call them whatever you want. Box, overlap, transparent, whatever. Okay. You can change the way they grid so that they grid like brick rows. You can see that. Or grid like vertical brick rows. Or there's even one called hex, and I don't exactly know what that one, what these do. I need to study a little longer. Okay, but I'm just going to go back to my straight grid, maybe do the brick so that they're off by half a step. Okay, there's other things here. You can have them do some kind of overlapping. Again, I have to experiment with this because I don't really know what some of this stuff does. You can set the tile to the art, so it depends on the art size. I think that's pretty much the same thing as what we do when we double click on the selection tool. And then you can either cancel this, or you can save a copy of it, or you can be done with it. And the last one was obviously selected. It's got the original pattern in it now. Let's see what happens if I make it bigger. Yeah, it's still got the stretchy designs in it, it looks like. Oh yeah, they're just getting bigger as my object gets bigger. Okay, so, oops, went back too far here. Let's double click here, if it'll let me. I don't know why it's not letting me. Oh, we gotta have something selected. That's why it's not letting me. Gotta have something selected. Okay, 0, 0, 0, just so it won't move. Okay, turn that off. And OK. And now if I draw a new shape, it's back to the original pattern. If I go a lot bigger with it here, maybe we can see how it has changed. Yeah, and you can see now they're in brick patterns instead of being in straight rows. They're offset. This one here, this one there. It's kind of like if you ever look at a brick wall, they overlap by half. Okay, and that's what that little brick tile setting did. Now sometimes these little gaps will open up between them. You can kind of see a line there at certain magnifications. I don't think those actually prove to be part of the graph. They're more of a video or a monitor glitch. I don't know. I have seen some stuff on the internet about it, how to get rid of those. I don't really think that they're really real. Okay. All right, so let me just get rid of that. That's some of the stuff we learned with regard to the swatches. Now, the idea with this was to fill one of your existing objects with one of these swatches. And that could be as simple as just using this as a background behind this. Arrange it and send it to the back. And so now it's kind of background behind one of these guys. I saw one of the students fashioned it so it would fit just perfectly in there, so it only fit in the gap of the design, which I thought was kind of inventive, kind of a good idea. That's kind of nice. Okay, so anyway, you'll just need to practice with that until you get really good with it, and try it and see how you like it. You can make your own swatches. You can also do a similar thing with gradients. If you have a nice gradient that you like, the way the gradient works is to drag it from your toolbar over to the swatch panel. So you get a really great gradient that you like, something that you're really fond of, you can drag it over to the swatch panel and add it to your swatches that way. Okay, I want to finish up here.